like that's kind of what you guys are creating, is this hub of partners and practitioners and just community that's like, okay, we all have this common goal and we all have this common belief that we can do better. Hello and welcome to the Wellness Dojo Podcast, where we bring real solutions to real health and wellness problems. Today I'm excited to have Steve Mix in the studio. Steve is the co-founder of the Day1Dads Foundation, and we discuss the personal impact of becoming a dad, the importance of personal growth, and finding support as a father in today's world. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did. Let's get into it. All right, we're here. Got Steve Mix in the house. Welcome to the show. Co-founder of Day1Dads. How you doing today?
Really good. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
On this sunny 20-degree day.
This beautiful Calgary day. Yeah, it's what is it out there when you're
minus 20?
Minus 20. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just absolutely brutal weather, but nice to be nice and warm inside.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to just kind of kick it with you today and talk a little bit about Day1Dads, a little bit about just being a dad, what that means. Right. Maybe first, can you just tell us just what the Day1Dads Foundation is?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm half of this great organization that myself and Curtis, you've met Curtis at the golf tournament.
Shout out Curtis.
Shout out to Curtis. And this story has been told many times, so I apologize if somebody might be hearing it again. But I was a father at 21. My mom had me when she was 16, so I didn't break that pattern of being a young parent by much. We share that in common. As I'm saying that, I remember our conversation. And Curtis was the first call, that I made. I needed somebody to talk to then. And at 21, to have somebody that I grew up with at that point, I mean, we'd shared, a lot of great memories up to that point. So to have somebody that I could rely on to just share that message of, listen, what do I do? I don't know what to do. I was terrified at the time. And so really to bring that forward to answer your question about Day1Dads is, we both evolved individually in our lives. I've had three more kids since then. So I've got a 17-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And Curtis has 2 kids. I think what hasn't changed is that, our relationship has grown, but, that moment of when I needed help, he was there. And I think what we're realizing now as fathers is that there's a lot more moments that people need help. There's a lot more, I think, opportunities to create conversations or to create openings where, men feel it's okay to connect, because you can with some friends, but if you don't have that, like if I didn't have a Curtis, like what would I do? What would I have done in that situation? So, to kind of, bring it to the why of, why we created the Impact Foundation was we need to create more opportunities, and more access to support. One of the big things is what you do, and, I've on my own, I've learned about what you do, but it's a perfect example of, we want to be the conduit to get people access to your resources, and I think Curtis and I have collectively figured out how we could leverage, who we are as individuals, what we've accomplished individually, and scale that and grow it and get support behind it. And we've done that very quickly. So I think that's, our mission is very, very simple. Get fathers more access to people like you. Yeah. Right. And I think if we can do that, and we've already started to do that, I think our mission is starting to come to fruition. We just want to scale it.
It's so awesome, because there really isn't a lot out there that you think of firsthand when you think of like support for dads in specific, right?
No.
And you as you talk about like finding out that you're going to be a dad the first time, being super young, flashbacks for me definitely coming up as well, as somebody who is 20 years old, finding out that their girlfriend was pregnant, right. and kind of like your life just being flipped upside down. It's a very scary thing. And to have that person in your life, or people in your life that are supporting you and trying to help you, like, no, it's going to be okay. Can you speak a little bit more to that, and just like that role that, Curtis or other people in your life played with just that kind of overwhelming fear that initially happens.
Yeah, I don't think Curtis realizes how important that moment was. Like, because I mean, at our first golf tournament, you know, I think it's something that just happens. But you know, I was speaking in front of all the attendees, and I started crying, telling the story. Like, just because it means so much. You know, it hits me right now. But to have somebody, I think, that can just be receptive, you know, I think is important. But then, you know, my family has always stood behind me. My mom, you know, is the fraction of a percent that, you know, takes that situation and does something with it.
Yeah.
She's got more letters behind her name than I can count, you know, and I think that's something where to have her as the role model to say, listen, like, things aren't easy. They weren't easy. You know, they weren't easy for her and I.
Yeah.
But you can always push, and I think, and do something, you know, if you just see opportunity. So my family's been a huge resource. My dad, who my mom married, so he's my stepdad, but he's my dad. You know, he's been a great role model for me, right? To kind of give me a foundation that I didn't have early on.
Yeah.
Right. And then my brother, like, I've got a brother who's 27, I think. But he came out, you know, he's engaged to his partner, Daniel. And I mean, like, all of these things just teach me so much about myself. And, you know, it just shows the strength of, I think, the diversity and the experiences we all have.
Yeah.
And that we can then share with other people. So, yeah, I've got you know, and that's not including, you know, my support system, my direct support system, my partner, Jenna, and my kids. I mean, you know, so those are the things I think they're so valuable.
Yeah.
You know, but without them, you know, and I'm trying not to make a long story or long answer long, but you're right. There isn't a micro focus on fathers.
Yeah.
Right.
We're kind of just expected to step up. Like, I know that's how I felt when I first became a dad, was there was just kind of this like expectation of, like, you should be able to handle this. This is your moment to be a man now. So step up and handle it and stuff like that. And so I felt that there left much room at that moment to, like, sit back and, like, even think about, like, oh, I'm actually, like, terrified right now. And, you know, there's all this pressure on me right now and these types of things. There was really nothing there for that. Like, there's no opportunity for that. But also there was, like, an expectation of, like, no, this is just, like, what being a man is, and you just have to handle it and
just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I think every one of my children, I was terrified.
Yeah.
In a different way.
Yeah.
You know, like terrified. And each time I didn't leverage. You know, I think Curtis was the only time, because it was, you know, but since then I don't think I just stepped up.
Yeah.
You know, so you're right. I think that's where, you know, we have to change the system so it happens immediately. So the second that somebody finds out they're a father, or even before they become a father, like in high school, you know, and that's a big focus for Curtis and I, is how can we get into high schools and start talking about this could be you.
Yeah.
You know, and if it is, this is what you might need to learn, this is what you might need to be prepared for.
Yeah.
You know, because I think without that, you know, we're not helping people up the mountain that we've already climbed.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's unfair.
Yeah.
You know, and they do exist. You're here. It's just, how do people find you? And I think that's got to be our mission, is to let the foundation create awareness for resources that exist.
I love it. It's just like dads coming together to support other dads or future dads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just so important, right?
And it's selfless. Like, I don't do this. Okay?
Yeah.
And Curtis and I, we had talked about this. And when we started, the original idea was a podcast. I mean, you couldn't be more focused on the wrong mission, okay? Because for a nonprofit that's deciding to create access to service, that doesn't have anything to do with Curtis and I.
Yeah.
You know, and I think for us, when we shifted focus on, okay, are we going to turn this into a nonprofit? And really, you know, we stepped back and said, well, this can't be about us. You know, this just has to be about access to service.
Yeah.
You know, so I think everything that you'll see in our model and what we're creating, like, we have a program coming out called the Care Card, and the Hey Dad card. It's literally a card. that has immediate access to services. So you just scan it.
Yeah.
And it'll give you a list of services that are available.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
So yeah, I think it's, and I appreciate that, but it's, we have to do more for fathers. They're just not, the message about what fatherhood is not clear.
Yeah.
And I think we know as fathers a little bit more than somebody who isn't a father.
Yeah.
So we should share that.
And what do you think? You say the message isn't clear about fatherhood. What do you think is, first of all, the kind of the miscommunication? What message is being relayed that maybe is missing the mark? And then to follow up on that question, what is the message that you think that we need to start spreading about it?
It's a great question. I think what's missing is the roadmap. And this road, I mean, your car is going to go.
Oh, yeah. It's like driving on these icy roads every day.
Yeah, you're going to go across both lanes. You're going to spin out. I mean, you're going to get a flat tire. I mean, everything's going to happen on that road, but there is a road. And I think, if we let people know that failure is part of the process as well, and one of the big things about Jenna is that, and what she does, she's an EDI officer, right? So, her focus is inclusion, so a lot of the language that we use in the house, or a lot of the things that we discuss, is completely new to me, right? But I think that needs to be shared on scale as well, to give people an option to determine if that's a new perspective that they want to bring into their lives and then share, and I just don't think there is, from financial, there isn't a financial roadmap. There isn't a support system roadmap. So what if family isn't close? Yeah. Right? You don't have resources like somebody to watch your kids. The amount of times. So last night, I think it was, or the night before, Jenna locked her keys in the car. She's 45 minutes away, which would be 45 minutes. Yeah. So 2.5 hours. I called my parents. I'm like, hey, like 15 minutes they were at the house.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that, right, but there are resources that could support you with that. Yeah. I think, we have to create at least a road. Yeah.
No, I love what you say about roadmap, because like what it sounds to me like is like the miscommunication here is that like we should have this. We should just like know what to do when that time comes. When you become a father, it's like, oh, that's my manhood card, and now I should just like, I'm just expected to know what to do. Right. Whereas like the new message needs to be, no, there are resources for you to like help you along and like figure this thing out.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
And even as each child is added, you have no idea.
Oh yeah.
A good friend of mine, Grant, I mean, he had 2 at once. So sure. Yeah. Like you've already had 1, but how do you prepare for now 3? Yeah. Just like that.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because I don't know how you guys are like preparing, like once you've gotten pregnant and you're preparing for that child to come. I don't know how you guys are, but for us, we're very much more just like not trying to like overthink it or overplan it too much, because we learned from the first one and the second one and the third one, like there's no planning for this. Like you can plan as much as you want. They're still going to make you feel so lost and so like helpless at times. And I don't know if you felt that way too, but
I did. It got better. Okay. Yeah. So first 2, were with previous relationship, hospital, terrified. Yeah. Younger, I think less mentally established. Yeah. To deal with things. My last 2. So this is, home birth.
Oh, okay.
Like I was in the tub for one of them. Yeah. Okay. Like a completely different experience.
Yeah. No kidding.
And so the roadmap was I think very different, because, what I had support. So there was a midwife there. We had a doula, which was, our sister-in-law, incredible. Yeah. We had friends there, so that's not like we had a party, but yeah. Jenna's best friend was there. Yeah. She actually she cut the umbilical cord, which I think is incredibly special. Yeah. So it was different because I think when you look at the advantages of doing it at home, because I was terrified. Okay, the first, so with my 4-year-old, when we had her at home, I was terrified.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is...
What if something goes wrong?
Totally.
Like all these thoughts, yeah.
Yeah, but I was, I think, less scared as the process was evolving because I realized what was happening.
Yeah.
It wasn't as pressured. It was more the focus on, on what was happening versus just get the baby out.
Yeah.
So yeah, but then our last, Kingsley, like, I was so calm.
Yeah. Just chilling the whole time.
And I knew what was going on. So when other people weren't calm, I was like, no. Like,
yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's also part of the roadmap is I felt less lost because I had more resources.
Yeah. I think there's like this like acceptance of like, I'm going to learn too. Right. Like that's really what it sounds like to me of like what you're saying with your story. And I know I resonate with that as well, of just over time, you start to just accept the fact that it's just going to be learning, right?
And
like
open to learning.
And open to learning. Yeah.
That's most important.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think we can create access to service, but unless people are willing to take advantage of it, right, it means nothing. Right. And, we're setting very clear expectations that we will create access, but it's up to the individual and our partners to make sure that once that access is taken advantage of, that, the best possible outcome could exist.
Yeah.
Right. But, people have to be open. I have to work out myself all the time, but you have to be open to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I've always I even told my kids this, but I've learned more about myself through like being a parent, being a father, than I've learned doing anything else, running a business, martial arts, whatever, all these things that like really like shaped me into who I am today. None of them even compare to being a dad and like just like what you have to learn about like your patience. And then you see your kids do something that you're like, oh, that sounds a lot like me. And I don't like the way that sounds. Now I need to like reassess myself. And it just teaches you so much about yourself. And I think fatherhood and parenthood in general is just such a metaphor for the rest of your life as well.
I agree.
Right? Like you said, like that openness to learn. It's like you can take that now and apply that into every aspect of your life and you're going to be better for it.
I agree. It's, I think it's the one thing that puts everything else together. Right? Like it's the most responsibility. Right?
Yeah.
Like your job, there's responsibility, but I think it's the one thing where you have to be the most aware of the consequences.
Yeah.
Right. And, my 17-year-old, and like, he's unfortunately broke my heart over the last couple of years because he's growing into himself and, he's just making the choices that he wants to make right now. And as a parent, I mean, the first thing I do is, well, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Like where did I could give you a million things.
Yeah.
Like I pushed him so much because, just like you, very gifted athletically. I mean, and this is, I think everybody, as I'm saying this, but I mean, everybody knows how gifted he is. But that was with a push.
Yeah.
Huge push. So I also, looking back, but I was 21.
Yeah.
Not that that's an excuse, but I mean,
you've hardly even lived your own life at that point, right? And you don't even really know who you are.
No, but so there's a million things I could say that I didn't do right.
Yeah.
Right. But I think now, I mean, so I co-parent. There's a great system there, which I think isn't always, and that took time. Yeah. A lot of time, and we still know how to push each other's buttons, but that's part of the process. But overall, I mean, we have an amazing system that works, right, to support, the kids. Because ultimately, like I said, you can mess up, right? But you have to be aware and you have to figure out how to accept it, change it. And that might be apologizing to your kids or, whatever you do. But, it's just a evolving process. You have to be open to change.
As somebody who has, multiple moms to your kids.
Yeah.
I'm you have, how many kids do you have? You have 5?
Way too many. I've got 4. Yeah,
4.
Yeah,
4 kids,
yeah,
and
4.
so 2 with one with your previous wife.
Yes.
Yeah, and then 2 with your now wife.
Yeah, not married.
Not married times. Partner. Okay.
So I just like to sin a lot apparently, but
yeah. That's
but yeah, we
no
were
judgment here.
No,
yeah.
But we were exactly that. I mean, for simplicity, yes.
Okay. I'm curious with that of like, what impact or what role did just like your own self-development play in you becoming a better parent versus like, we have to be good parents together? Like, I think there's a mix there. There's a balance. But I'm curious, how important was that self-development of you, of just like, this is what I need to do to be better for myself? How much did that make you a better parent?
The most important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, it's the most important, right? Because if you're not willing to accept what you've done wrong or willing to let go of things, then I don't think there's any path forward, right? So I think part of, it's always that, it's accepting, the fact that when things go wrong, you always have some part to play in that.
Yeah, that level of ownership that you take.
Accountability.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's, and at the end, I mean, accountability is accepted differently by all people,
mm-hmm.
right? Typically when people are held accountable, they react, right? So I think it's learning how to accept accountability and react the right way.
Yeah.
Right? Because accountability in a situation could be, a positive outcome and a negative outcome.
Yeah.
It's just, how do you deal with it?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what you said is so huge about like accepting accountability. Like, it's very different when somebody's like, you need to take accountability for your actions versus when you're like, I need to take accountability for my actions. There's totally. A much different tone to that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think in that self-assessment, that was, my biggest criticism of myself with my oldest was the accountability.
Yeah.
Right. Is, was there an opportunity to hold them accountable differently?
Yeah.
But I also think the acceptance of accountability is on him too.
Yeah.
So, it's a constant evolving process in life, but I think that's the biggest thing for me is accountability. Right.
Yeah. What are some of the other, like biggest lessons that you've learned through just becoming a dad initially to today? What are some of those biggest lessons that you've learned for just like self-development and, who you are and who you want to be and all those things?
That they have to always come first, right? Like it's, being in the role that I put myself in professionally, as an entrepreneur, you fail way more than you succeed.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's part of it. Right. So a lot of the regrets I have is letting some of those things impact, how I was around my kids or how I am at home, or, I think that's the biggest lesson is that, there's this video that, really hit me because it said the first 4 years of your child's life, you never get back. And that's the most important time.
Yeah.
And I think it's every year, because at some point, like my 12-year-old is starting to shift, right, into less time.
Yeah.
He's amazing in the time that we do get. But I mean, that's the toughest thing about co-parenting too.
Yeah.
As I see him half the time.
Does that force you then to really cherish those times that you are together more, do you think?
I do. Like I value it more.
Yeah.
I think he's,
yeah.
But it's tough because, like he'll go sleep at grandma and grandpa's. So then that's one less day.
Yeah.
So I'm very aware of it.
Yeah. I imagine that it becomes very difficult to let go of some of that time as well, right? You almost sometimes, I would imagine, would feel like you have to try not to be selfish, but then also there's like this like tug of war between being selfless and selfish.
Agree.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest, so on that, I think the biggest struggle that I have sometimes is that with the 4-year-old and my 2-year-old, they require, a different level of support, right? All the time. Like this morning on my call, my 2-year-old said dad probably 50 times.
Yeah.
Like just over
Yep.
and over and over again. And so what I can't do is I can't sacrifice time that they need to try to adapt or adjust to the lack of time that I get with my son. I just have to make sure that the time that I do spend with him, is there's value there,
Yeah.
or that I make special time for him.
Yeah.
One thing we just talked about is that we have to get back to, doing that, right? Like identifying specific days where, it's just the day where we do something.
Yeah.
Because we did it, but again, like life happens, we didn't keep that consistent. So I think we just need to do a bit better in that. But I'm always aware of it because I just,
Yeah.
I miss him the second I drop him off.
Yeah.
And I don't want to let him go.
Yeah.
When I have him there. So it's,
Yeah. It's really like, it really messes you up as a parent of like how your emotions get like pulled left and right and up and down and all those types of things. What are some of the most amazing parts about being a parent to you?
I think being part of their development, right? And what I mean is you get to witness it. Like my son's starting to talk. So words are starting to make sense. Like I think that's the most impactful on me, is that I'm just watching them develop and I'm part of that development.
Yeah.
And I'm very aware of it. Like I'm always focused on, just watching them, evolve.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible.
It's funny because I've been talking a lot more with different groups and stuff about like, what does it mean to be a man? Like there's this, masculinity and stuff is finally becoming like more of a forefront of a conversation right now. And there is this concept of like, how do we even know that we're like when we become a man? And I think that plays into it of like we mentioned before, when you first find out or when you first become a parent, it's like there's this expectation almost of like, well, this is my man card now, like I have to step up and do this. But I think really is like what really starts to develop that manhood, that masculinity, is like when you start to see it in your kids, whether that be your daughter or your son or whatever, but you start to see yourself through them. And then that allows you an opportunity to reassess like, what kind of man am I really?
Agree.
Right.
Yeah. And it's the masculinity, like what is that? Because what I see through my kids is, how they've taken, something that I've given them and they've turned it into their unique way of processing it and then giving it back.
Yeah.
But it's I think part of my biggest shift on masculinity is that I and I don't even know if this is properly categorizing it together, but I've become more open to putting that aside. Right?
Yeah.
Like I've checked that.
Yeah.
I've been more loving, more open about my feelings and emotions, and like I think that's the evolution as a father.
Yeah.
Is to, that's Curtis posted something, but it was about be a man.
Yeah.
And I would never say that.
Yeah.
And I know I've heard it before.
Oh yeah.
I've heard it a few times.
Yeah.
For a few too many.
Be a man, man up.
Oh,
all
yeah.
those kind of phrases, right?
Yeah. I mean, I played sports, right? I was lucky enough to play sports. I heard it from everyone.
Yeah.
But I would never recommend saying that, and I would never say that to my sons.
Well, it's such a confusing phrase for, to even say it as somebody who doesn't fully understand, like, what does that even mean? It creates a lot of confusion, I think. Like, for me to say that to my son, like, hey, man up, let's go. So, like, what does that even mean? Like,
context, please.
Yeah, it would make more sense to say, like, hey, you got to toughen up here, right? Toughen up makes a little bit more sense, but man up, they're like, well, now there's only one. They understand that what you're saying is toughen up, but now you're associating certain things to it, right?
Right.
It sounds like that's a big part of that roadmap that you're talking about, of like, how do we set this new roadmap for new fathers? A big part of that is kind of just like accepting the fact that, like, you know, being a man for this new life that you have, that you're now responsible for, it doesn't necessarily mean what we've, you know, been taught that it means. It can mean whatever it is for you.
Agree. No, I think you summarized that very well, because we have to put every option that's out there for people to progress.
Yeah.
Right. Because, not everyone is going to take the same path. Right. So I think we can offer them the options along that path. There's so many different areas for development for people. Like, I might need this resource and you might need this resource.
Yeah.
Just based on where you're at in life. And so I think you're right. If we can just, a lot of the things that you're sharing, right, I think is part of what needs to be opened up to more people.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think that's still, the gap we need to fill for fathers, because if we can create better fathers, then no matter what that family unit behind the scenes looks like, me with, my multiple wives.
Yes, sorry.
No, I love it. It's
I don't always speak well.
No, I love it though. I think it's because we joke about it all the time. When anybody asks me how many kids I have, I say way too many.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I have a very unique situation.
Yeah.
Right. So, I need certain supports that are specific to what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
So I think foundationally, yeah, we want to pave the road. And then, we're developing right now. It's called the D1D Impact Hub. You'll be, I hope you'll be on the hub.
Yeah.
I mean, but we want to create a digital directory of services that are available to men.
Yeah.
Right. And to fathers specifically.
And is that specifically what the hub is going to be? Is like more just like a directory of here's what's available to you. What else will be involved?
So you would build a profile of, the Wellness Dojo.
Yep.
And then the hub would promote that.
Yeah.
It's no cost. I mean, this is part of, we have to eliminate barriers to access. So we can't put paywalls up.
Yeah.
That's not the intent of this. Part of why we fundraise is so that we can create something, like this. But yeah, our goal, so, we're hoping to have the platform up in the next month or two. And then next year, populate it. So onboard as many partners as we can that provide services.
Yeah.
And then the following year, we'll launch it to the public.
Yeah.
So I think that will be a very, very good resource.
Yeah.
That'll be, not only the road, but also all the stops along the way for people.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I think we need to commit to is, there's so many resources out there, but how do you collectively find them?
Yeah.
And consolidate them?
Well, and the other question too is how do we get dads to accept that accountability and actually use these things, right? Because that's always been the biggest challenge in my business as well. It's like, we have all the information, we have all the tools. How do we get people to actually use them? Right. I'll put that question to you first, and then I'll give my opinion on that.
No, I'd like to hear you.
You'd like
please,
to hear me first?
Please, yeah.
Yeah, so
might spark a better response for me.
I think it's just through like what you guys are doing. It's just spreading awareness and just like getting the right messages out there. Conversations like what we're having right now that show dads that like what I'm feeling is normal. That, all these emotions that I'm feeling like, a shit parent and all these types of things, like that's normal. I feel like a failure almost on a daily or weekly basis with my kids, but we come back to it and we have that open communication, that willingness, like you said, to learn and to accept accountability when, you know, when you snap at your kids and maybe I shouldn't have, and, you know, I'll go to my kids and say, hey, sorry for the way that I reacted. I didn't sleep last night. The dog had me up 5 times in the middle of the night.
Right. It's a beautiful dog, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, I think I think that's, I echo your sentiments.
It's almost an unfair question, I know, but
no, it's not. But I mean, I would say the same thing, right? You know, we have to be able to open up a bit more.
Yeah.
Right. We have to be able to hold ourselves accountable, you know, and we have to have resources. So the question's coming back to me a bit, but it's not our job, and I say this as the foundation, okay, and just to understand where we have to be very clear about our role in this transaction is that we need to vet out great partners.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because, you know, I've spent quite a while working, you know, in the nonprofit sector, right? A lot of economic and social development projects. I understand how that industry works.
Yeah.
Right. I also know that there's a lot of services that are listed online that don't exist.
Yeah.
Okay. They don't exist because they just don't have a data model that could keep that data up to date. Okay. So, you know, knowing that there's these gaps and these barriers to what's currently provided to a user, I think what we could do better, right, to make sure that people are held accountable, right, on their progress is to vet out great partners.
Yeah.
Right. Because then we can stand behind the partners knowing that if we refer someone, right, there's 2 sides of it that are going to push for that individual to do better.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's part of it. Like one of our partners, Men's League.
Yep.
You know, they're amazing. You know, they're good friends, right? But they're also, you know, trying to break down the barriers between, you know, what we chatted about earlier. You know,
yeah.
What is a man, and how do we define that, and how do we redefine that?
Yeah.
You know, so I think collectively, when we've got great partners, and we've got a platform, and we've got a voice, you know, and we're building a huge community, like we're launching an ambassador program. Might be something you'd be interested in, but, you know, we're launching this so that we can further scale the message.
Yeah. Because
there shouldn't be any barriers. There shouldn't be any borders. There shouldn't be timelines on access to services.
Yeah. There should be no question about, like, can I get help or support, or should I get help or support?
Exactly.
Right?
They exist.
Yeah.
So help exists.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can guarantee, no matter what you are dealing with right now today, there's a service that supports. It's just, how do we find it?
Yeah.
You know, and so we want to bring those services collectively. And I think in the past, and I think why some of these platforms miss the mark is because they're not micro-focused.
Yeah.
Right? They're macro-focused. How do we provide everything? You know, and I think where we are going to be successful is how we're micro-focused on fathers.
Yeah, and I think on that too is like this common mission that the partners have, like creating this hub space of like people who have a common mission for dads and like for parents or whatever the case might be. Whereas one of the biggest frustrations that I hear in my industry specifically is people will come and they'll say, like, you know, I've been dealing with this shoulder injury. And even me, I went to chiro, naturopath, physio, massage, like almost every single person had a different theory for what was going wrong with my shoulder.
Right.
That becomes very frustrating for a consumer. And that's the number one thing, or as a patient, that I hear when people come to me. They're like, you know, I've been to all these different people and nobody has the same answer for me. Like nobody has like one common strategy for me.
Right.
And then when they come to our team and we go, okay, well, I want you to see this massage therapist. I want you to come and do exercises with me. And then we're going to also send you to our naturopath, and like we can collaborate and like come up with like a common thing.
Right.
That's the thing that people are like, finally, I have a team working towards the same thing for me. And it sounds to me like that's kind of what you guys are creating, is this hub of partners and practitioners and just community that's like, okay, we all have this common goal and we all have this common belief that we can do better for
we need
dads.
to clip that as our promo.
Yep, there we go. We found it.
It's exactly it, right? It's a connected, engaged community.
Yeah.
Right, that is going to further this, because what Curtis and I have realized, nobody is doing this.
Yeah.
So I feel that's the opportunity.
Yeah.
Because the messaging is very clear. We've had tremendous support, and I give Curtis, credit for this, because a lot of the support we've received has been through his network. Because he's front and center, right, in his role. He's built up a tremendous network, and now he has a mission other than what he's been doing professionally that he can share with them.
Yeah.
And chances are, which if you ask someone, are you a dad or not, right? It's 50% chance. Yeah. And if they are, then, I mean, we can just tell them what we're doing, and the mission really hits. We're very surprised. It feels like right now there is an opportunity for us to step in and try to fill this gap. And, we've been working with Woods Homes. They've been incredible. Brian, who's one of their directors there. I think, over this next year, we're going to formalize, the ability to do a lot more with some of our partners, because strength is in that. We can't do it alone.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the mission. Is it, how big can we make this? Right?
Yeah.
Because if it's larger, more people can hear about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If more people can hear about it, then we know they're accessing the services.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're so right about like this. Like, I remember even the first time I saw Day1Dads, I think I saw it on LinkedIn.
Sure.
But I remember just like seeing that name and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's something I can get behind. And I didn't even know what it was yet.
Appreciate that.
Right? Like, I honestly, like, I didn't have a clue like what you guys were doing. But I was like immediately like, I need to find out more about like what this Day1Dads thing is, because like I said at like kind of off the top here, is like there really isn't much for dads specifically out there. Maybe there is, but like I don't know about them, right? And that's a problem. And so you guys are really doing your part to become part of that solution, right? So kudos to you guys.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I think back to your last comment about the collective.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where we are going to really focus our efforts, is, our board of advisors, our governance. Like, I think there is an opportunity well beyond what we originally thought.
Yeah.
Just based on the interest. And I think for us, that just means, how can we reduce the expectations on us, right? So that we can scale this. And so back to, what is our role? Our role is to be the middleman.
Yeah.
Right? To make sure that, you can focus on what you do really well.
Yeah.
And we can focus on building a community of people that will need to access it. They might need that. They will need it at some point in their life.
Yeah.
So I think that's the goal, is we should be able to help promote those services.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really well said. I think that's really important. It's even something that I've recognized in my business, of like when I was specifically doing just like mostly personal training in particular, you're like constantly like, oh, this person needs my help. How can I get them to come in? Like, and you're constantly like, you really get into like this like salesy kind of, it's like nobody's going to use that service until they're ready to use it, or until they're like, they understand it better, those types of things. And so, yeah, I think that's the most important thing, is that people just like understand it, and people just like see it, understand it. This is what we're going to do for you. And then when they're ready and you have that reliable resource lineup, you're going to see people that are like, oh, that one. So that's where I want to start.
That's a key word, reliable.
Yeah.
Because it's, if you have to fix your car, right? You have two options. You ask somebody if they have a referral. Yeah. Or you Google it. Yeah. Okay. And you try and find it yourself. If you have a referral, chances are you're going to take the referral, right? So I think that's the credibility and the reliable behind what we're doing, is we want to make sure that we vet out these organizations. Yeah. right? Because, I think the strength is in that, right? Can we make a referral that we would stand behind?
Yeah.
And Woods Homes, we were, humbled to go to their gala. I mean, it's incredible what they've been able to do, but they have, a reliable network of individuals that support that mission.
Yeah.
So it's no different than what we're trying to do. Is if we can have great partners, then in 25 years, just like they just celebrated, or their gala, I think, we want to have that exact same impact.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Very cool. Lots of different kind of avenues that we've gone down here. Definitely lots more that we could go down.
For sure.
But I love hearing just kind of that overall mission. It sounds like big things ahead for Day1Dads as well. And yeah, like I'm in full support of you guys. I think it's such an important thing to provide dads with these things. There's a lot of things out there for new moms and even just like new families in general. But for dads in specific, like there's definitely more support that needs to be had, and more. I mean, like you said, everybody has like there's support out there. There's help. Like we can find it, right? But where's the trusted resource for dads? And you're looking at them right now.
Appreciate that. No, and
your partner Curtis, yeah,
and you as well. And I think
thanks.
that's where it's not us. Okay, and so I want to be very clear. It's you.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we're defining our impact, right, it's what you do, right? Because you actually are in the seat of impact.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with the individual.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's, that gives me goosebumps saying that, because, we haven't met up until this point.
Yeah.
Right. But I understand the value you provide to people directly. So I think the benefit that I've gotten from this is that we can now formalize a relationship, right, of trust, where we can put you into the network, right? Not that it didn't exist. I mean, you're supporting us at the golf tournament, so I think there's, it really is about our providers and about what you do. So I can't, and Curtis would echo the sentiment, but it really is, without you, we wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's the great thing about what we're doing, is the selfless nature of why we're trying to build this, is so that we can, make sure that people understand that there's people like you out there that can truly change their lives.
Yeah.
Like truly change their lives. So yeah. So thank you. And I appreciate this.
Yeah. I appreciate you being here. Before we fully wrap things up here, is there anything that hasn't been said that you were hoping to get off your chest, or to get out there?
No. I mean, it's I just appreciate again, I appreciate that there's opportunities to be with individuals like yourself. When we talked briefly on the phone, that was very interesting to me, because we shared a lot of similarities.
Yeah, in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, so it feels, again, it feels like we're hanging out again.
Yeah.
But, and I think that's important, how quick a relationship can be built.
Yeah, totally.
That we don't know what this path is going to look like, but I do know it'll grow from this. So I think that's what I enjoy about this, is that we're meeting people that are creating impact. And those are the people that we really want to align with.
Yeah, and when we do, we can be so much more impactful.
Agree.
Like, I can help impact your guys' foundation so much more, and you guys can help impact my business and how I can help people even more on my journey to building something for people as well, right?
Agree.
Yeah.
That's the goal. So yeah, it's I appreciate everyone that supported what we're doing. We wouldn't be here without the individuals that stood behind what we're doing.
Yeah.
I appreciate Curtis, right? Because it's, it hasn't been easy. I mean, we've challenged each other.
Mm-hmm.
Early on, he had to hold me accountable, right?
Yeah.
Because I had too many things going on.
Yeah.
But I think that's the brilliance of where we've got to, is we've been able to, as friends, and fathers,
Yeah.
I think create something that's very clear on what our impact strategy is. And this next year is about deploying it on scale. And we're excited. We'll definitely share a lot of information with you. We're hoping to have our launch kind of February.
Okay.
Of our official resource for fathers.
Yeah. When did you guys start the foundation? How long has it been?
Not even a full year.
Oh, okay.
We started it before we were a nonprofit.
Okay.
In the sense that we were,
the idea and just like
and just a validation.
Yeah.
So I think that was the boost that said, okay, we have to do this, formalize it. But I think when you look at what we've done in this last year, I think people would be really shocked. But we're leveraging other things to get up this mountain faster. Yeah. We wouldn't do this if it would take us a year, 2 to 3 years to create impact. I don't think Curtis and I would be doing it. We have to do it right away. Yeah. And we're equipped with great people. Yeah. Where we can, make moves immediately. And that's what this is about. We can't wait to create impact. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's easy to say this is what I want to do one day. Yeah. Right. But how does that help anybody? No, what are we doing today? Yeah. And I think,
and not to cut you off there, sorry, but what I do today, whether it be minimal or whether it be massive, still has an impact.
Agree.
Right. And so it's and that would maybe be my message out to some of the dads out there listening that maybe are struggling with some really heavy stuff, or even maybe some stuff that seems very minimal. And you think I'll deal with that tomorrow. It's every little bit that you do today makes a difference. And if two young dads like us starting out in our 20, 21, starting out as a dad, if we can make it work and get to where we are today, then anybody out there can do it.
Yeah, and it's exciting, to see where we'll be. Yeah, because I think every day I'm on Instagram looking at videos of how to communicate differently. There's just
still writing the map, right? Constantly writing the map.
That's what's beautiful about this journey. Yeah, but I'm excited that we're now on that together. Yeah, and I'm really excited that this is an area of focus for myself personally. Yeah, because it's something that I wish I would have had, many times over.
Oh yeah, likewise. Yeah. Awesome. Where can people find the Day1Dads Foundation, social medias, website? Where can people find you to lend support or to get support?
If you just go to our website, so it's d1d.ca. Okay. We've got our Instagram as well, Day1Dads. Curtis keeps that up to date. A lot of work. Yeah. But that's, like you said, small things every day. Yeah. Him committing to that, if we can get a response from people and it creates impact, then those are the little things. But our website will be updated to show kind of, what we're launching over the next few months. Okay. Our hub will have a separate site for that, but it'll be on our website, so we'll let you know. Yep. But other than that, just we're on LinkedIn. Just find us, Day1Dads. Awesome. Do a search, and we appreciate again the opportunity to share our message.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle.
Awesome. And thank you to everybody who's listening or watching. And make sure you go and check out the Day1Dads Foundation. Offer your support where you can, and take the support where you can as well. And we'll do our part to make this a bigger conversation and to continue to grow this conversation and this awareness for dads.
Agree.
Awesome. Right. Thank you guys for watching and listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. For additional support or to work with one of us one-on-one, go to our website, www.wellnessdojo.ca. You can also find us on Instagram at Wellness Dojo YYC, or on all other social media platforms searching The Wellness Dojo. We'll see you in the next episode.